aspect of chanting japa that Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions in his Harinam Chintamani, that there's chanting and there's also studying the mantra and remembering one's relationship with Krishna. Those two things go together so that we have clear purpose and intention while chanting. No. Clicker for that. Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I'll use that too later, but sorry. I know there's several meanings for this. I'm deeply touched though, really. Thank you. So, Happy Japa, it came from our stay at Govardhan Hill, which we've been doing. This will be the 23rd or 4th year, I can't remember. And at the ashram there, the temple president, every morning after the Mangal Arti, before we start japa, he would say, Happy Japa. So I adopted this name. And in the presentation, which apparently won't go by this clicker, unless I'm pushing the wrong button. Yes, I am. We can start with the Bhuta Shuddhi, which means, Shuddhi means to purify, and Bhuta means the elements, Bhuta. So their idea is, and this is done for the beginning of starting deity worship, there's a way in which sitting down to do japa can have a prelude, preface, and let's try reading it together. I by nature the eternal servant of Krishna, but by misfortune due to being inimical towards him since time immemorial, I've been wandering within the cycle of birth and death in the material world, being burnt by the threefold miseries. Now as a result, some unimaginable good fortune, by the mercy of my spiritual master, I know that I am an infinitesimal living being, completely apart from the gross and subtle body. Now by the order of my spiritual master, I have obtained the good fortune of serving his lotus feet, as well as the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sri Radha Madan Mohan. Sorry, I was just in Baltimore. And then this is a verse, we can read the English. I am not a Brahmana, I am not a Kshatriya, I am not a Vaishya or a Shudra, nor am I a Brahmachari, a householder of Vanaprastha or a sannyasi. I identify myself only as the servant of the servant of the servant of the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna, the maintainer of the gopis. He is like an ocean of nectar, and he is the cause of universal transcendental bliss. He is always existing with brilliance. And sankalpa, just paraphrasing here, the spiritual urge, when we chant with an urge to advance in devotional service, it has great effect. And therefore, as Prabhupada writes in the Srimad Bhagavatam, when the mind acts under spiritual urge, we usually think of urges as coming from the senses for sense gratification, but there's a time at which we have a spiritual urge, so that can be expressed through our chanting. It acts wonderfully for going back home, back to Godhead, for life in complete bliss and eternity. Therefore, the mind has to be manipulated by good and unalloyed intelligence. Perfect intelligence is to render service unto the Lord. One should be intelligent enough to understand that the living being is, in all circumstances, a servant of the circumstances. I think that the misprint, it should be servant of the Lord. So, the sankalpa means, before you start chanting, you express your intention. And one of the sankalpas that I've used over the years that came from a desire to advance spiritually is as follows. My dear Lord, if you so desire, please give me the best of association and the intelligence to take advantage of it. Thank you for considering my request. So whatever spiritual urge you feel, if you express it before you start chanting, then that lines you up. So we have the Bhuta Shuddhi, and those are the couple of verses we just did. And then if you make your statement before you start chanting, You're aligned. You're pointing towards what you want to do. And here are a couple of instructions Prabhupada gave on japa. Yoga system is approved, but nobody can follow the rules and regulations strictly. Neither there is suitable place for executing it, and everyone is always full of anxiety. So how they can concentrate? So best thing is to chant Hare Krishna, which is forced meditation. And so what is this force behind the chanting when we say forced meditation? Nija Sarva Shakti. Lord Chaitanya said that Krishna's name has all of his Shaktis, his Nija Sarva Shakti, which means all of his personal energies. He and his holy name are the same. So there's a way that when we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna is, in a sense, forcefully there for us. And by his spiritual power, he helps us as we're chanting. And the next one is regarding your last question about the ecstatic symptoms of chanting Hare Krishna. You should know that the Hare Krishna mantra has an equal effect upon all devotees, just like the sunshine has an equal effect on everyone. But when it is covered, the sunshine has a different effect. Similarly, the influence of the Hare Krishna mantra becomes manifest when one is no longer covered by the 10 offenses to chanting. The more we become free from the 10 offenses, the more the effect of chanting becomes manifested through us. Everyone can become a great devotee, being freed from the offenses 100% simply by one's determination and effort. And just to comment on two prominent words in Prabhupada's instruction, one is determination, and the other is effort. So determination comes from the word terminus, which means the end point. And one of the meanings of determination, or a way of understanding if one is determined, is if you finish. So one of the yogatas, there's a list of yogatas, you got to finish. So in Vaidhi Bhakti, we have a set number of whatever we're doing, and we finish it. And if you're able to finish within a 24-hour period, then you know you're determined. And that's important. And effort, the admonition is you got to fight for it. So there's going to be a battle as the mind has its own ideas about what it wants to do, as it's untrained, just like a little dog. A little dog wants to run all over and do whatever it wants to do everywhere. So if you want an obedient dog, you have to take time and effort to say, no, sit over here, no, sit over here, no, sit over here, no, sit over here. And finally, it sits over there. So same thing with the mind. We have to fight for it, and we have to know going into the japa that there's going to be some effort, a fight for we know what's right. And I'll come back to these slides later. Are there any comments or questions before we commence? A reflection, perhaps? Nice slides, Vaiśeṣika. Bhakta Ayan did them with a little help from Prem Dham. You ended up with the mic, eh? Okay. Go ahead, Gotu.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, I like the point where Prabhupada says everyone can become a great devotee free from the offenses 100% simply by determination and effort. It gives a great hope because I feel some or the other offense is always there in the chanting, especially inattentiveness. So, it's very hope-giving, I feel.
It is, isn't it? Just the fact that Prabhupada gives the statement means we can attain it. There is no permanent disqualification. It's up to us, because we're self-determining units of consciousness, if you want to put it technically. Okay, one more? Yes.
I just like the way determination has been described. You got to finish, because I always feel guilty that I'm always trying to finish. That's my only aim, that I have to finish it. But looks like that's also determination. So it's
yeah, you see these races where somebody's running long distance, and then they come the last lap and they can barely move, and they're like, just everyone cheers for them more than anyone because somehow or other they make it over the finish line. So it is one of the aspects that's really important. Okay, let's try. Just a last check-in, as we're about to greet the deities in a few minutes, and see if there was any breakthroughs or realizations, because by sharing realizations in the mood or the directive given by Rupa Goswami called Guya Makyati Prichati, then we benefit individually as well as a community. Breakthroughs, realizations for 500.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. In the last slide which you shared, it was the efforts. I was just thinking we have to fight for it. I just felt, yes, it is for me. I have to fight every day. I had 3 alarms, and the last alarm, when it was ringing, I think it went again. I just felt like I should sleep more, but I have to fight it out, and somehow I was victorious today. So I have to fight every day in this battle.
You mean alarms to wake up? I recommend I'm trying to remember the name of the brand. I gave one to Adwaita. It's what's it called? I can't hear you. Anyway, it's a big orb. It's a big, huge light. Goes in the opposite end of the room, and then you set it, and then the light comes on gradually. If you set it for 5 a.m., it'll start lighting up at 4:30, gradually, like the sun coming up. And then by the time it hits 5, the whole room is so bright. It's amazing. I highly recommend it. It's much better than waking up to a shrill alarm. It's worth the investment. Yes, another one behind me.
This teaching of determination and effort and fighting for it made me think of a man named David Goggins, who grew up severely abused by his father, was facing the worst kind of racism at school, grew to be like 300 pounds and got a job as an exterminator before he looked in the mirror and didn't like who he had become and decided to change his life. So he joined the Navy SEALs. He had to lose like 100 and something pounds in a couple months, started studying every day and just barely passed this test, and had to go through the hell week, they call it, 3 times before he passed. Like the first 2 times he couldn't finish because he broke bones during it, and the 3rd time both of his shins were fractured, but for the last day he actually splinted up his legs with duct tape and went and finished the running with 2 broken legs to complete this. And then that wasn't enough, so he eventually became an ultra marathon runner, just to push the mind to the absolute limits to see what he could become, pushing his body and mind, slamming through any kind of self-imposed limitations or any kind of limits that he could conceive. And now he's an inspirational speaker, teaching people that they can also do this, that all of our limits are in our mind. It's all about mindset. It made me think of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who did his own ultra namathon to chant 10 million names, approaching Haridas Thakur's level of determination and effort. And just gives me hope also to see you, Guru Maharaj, and your God brothers who have had such determination and effort to, growing up, swim against the stream of American culture and really follow Srila Prabhupada to share this Krishna consciousness and give us all a brighter future. So thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. So, thank you. We came and sat down and gave our best effort. And if we keep showing up every day and do that, then Krishna, as Prabhupada said, if you take 1 step towards Krishna, he'll take 10 towards you. So it's a hopeful operation, that it's not all our effort, but when we do our due diligence, as Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, there's 2 inches. 1 inch is our effort, and the other one is Krishna reaching out to us. But we can have this deep determination, and we can fight for it. And we can think of ourselves as ultra fighters against the modes of material nature. Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Shri Panchatattva, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Shri Lakshmana Shringadev, if you so desire, please empower us to show up and for and finish our japa every day with full attention and love in our hearts. Thank you for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Everyone agrees with this prayer. Please unmute and say Hare Krishna.